Hello all, welcome to Rotating.com. In this session, we'll discuss about how do we perform a DDL and DML operation on a table where we have a vector data type. So let's get into the content. So the first thing is how do we create a table with vector data type? So you can observe the example, create table my vectors where we mention two columns, one is ID and a number, and the other column name is embedding and where the data type is vector. So you can just mention the data type directly like vector. If at all, if you want to specify extra properties, what you can do is there are three properties which are provided. And the first one is number of dimensions, nothing but how many features it is having, or nothing but what is the length you're expecting for your vector. That's what you can mention for the number of dimensions. The next one is the length of your format. So here you can observe we have around four data types which are supported: integer, float, 32, float, 64, and binary. And the last one is what kind of vector data type it is. Like it is a dense or a sparse. Dense means mostly populated, sparse means less populated. So that's what it is, a syntax of the create table for the vector data type. Now let us see the logic here. How do we create a table with a vector data type? You can observe in this example, we mentioned the vector size of 4. The element size is 4. You can also ignore it. It is not mandatory to mention any of the property, but still, if at all, if you want to specify any specific thing, you can mention. So we have a couple of syntaxes which are available. So we'll just start with the first one. So I'm using the Oracle database 23 AI using SQL Developer. If at all, if you don't have the Oracle free demo license cloud tier account, what you can do is you can simply go with livesql.oracle.com, and whatever we're discussing here, everything will work. And make sure that you select 23 AI because the vector data type gets supported in the 23 AI. Now, the first task, what we would like to do is we want to create a table with a vector data type having a column called vector data type. So I'll just create this command, execute this command, create table, my table 3. And yeah, so it says this particular table is already there. So I'll just use other one, my table 4. It got created. And now just see the description of this particular table. And here, yeah, here you can observe this is the first column which we mentioned, and the other one is the column V, which is a vector data type. And the first two columns are considered as asterisk, and the last one is dense. So what does it mean is, if at all, if you don't mention a value for a specific property, automatically it will consider asterisk. And also for the last one, by default, it is always dense. If at all, if you explicitly mention, that will be considered. Okay. Now I'll show you one more syntax. You can observe this example. So let us say my vector table 2. Yeah, so this got created, and I'll just show you this logic. So in this logic, we are just trying to validate how many variations of your vector data type you can create it. So it all depends upon the model or a feature which you want to consider. So you can observe here this V1, which is having vector data types of size 3, a float 2, and dense type. This is 2, float 6, dense. Another one is 1 with integer 8 and dense. So there are a couple of variations. Wherever you don't, if you observe the V7 one, so why did it create like this? So here the user mentioned V7 with a star and star. The last one is dense by default. And yeah, so you can observe the last one where we explicitly mentioned 2048, float 32, and this is dense. And wherever if you explicitly mention the vector data type, yes, parts will be considered. So that's what the logic is all about of this one. Now we'll just consider our the exact table name which we want to work on to perform the DML operation. So this is our table. Select star from product catalog. So it is having around 4 columns: product ID, product name, description, and the embedding. So this embedding, which is a of data type vector. And let us say, how do you insert the data, right? So as of now, we have 3 records. I'll just like to insert one more record, maybe a 6th one. This is 6, the name is 6, Bluetooth speaker 6. And I'll just go with the same thing here. And let us try to perform insertion. So it says one row got inserted. Let us see whether do we have a record of product 86. Yes, we got that. And now this is about insertion of the data into vector. So the only difference you can observe here is the value of your embedding should be in a JSON format, nothing but single quotes followed by the square brackets, and also the vector size has to match. Okay, if it is ad hoc, it will not validate. But if at all, if you mention explicitly the size of your vector, definitely it has to match. This is about insertion, right? Now let us see how do we perform updation. So now if you want to perform the updation, same thing. Make sure that you mention the value in a single quotes and the JSON format. The row got updated here, right? Now, the last one, how do you perform deletion? So here, if you observe, Let us observe the data first. So I'll just open one more window here. I want to show you the information clearly. You can observe here the data, it is getting shown in the floating numerical format as we have the value which we mentioned in a floating manner. So that's the reason it is getting stored in a mathematical way. And now, if at all if you're performing deletion, the deletion will not work in a direct way. So we have to use this particular similarity operator. And based on the syntax of this one, right? So here, if you observe as per our, yeah. So it's a similarity score. It will try to validate the data, what you mentioned in the embedding with the value which you are providing. And here I mentioned a very small variation of the comparison. If you just mention zero, it will not work. So instead of that, what I'm doing is I'm trying to compare the embedding, which will be very much near and the difference is very less. If at all, if it matches with a very less variation of the embedding, simply delete that. So let us try. So it says 2 rows deleted. If we try to just execute this one, yeah, so we got deleted. Let me try if rollback is working. Yeah, yes, not really. Rollback is not working, I guess. Okay, so this is how you can perform the DML operations on the vector column in Oracle database. So in the next session, we'll see some more examples in the vector. How do you perform search and different kind of functions which we have in the vector database of Oracle. Thank you.